in the world, everyone want to get loved. Everyone want to have the right to speak and do whatever they want. But at some point, it always finish by stepping over the head of someone else. So today we're gonna speak about inclusivity. There's Trudeau recently who made a big wave. All right, I'm gonna tell you what he done. Trudeau personally met with an honored veteran of the 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS, a Nazi division. So, a dude who was into the army for the Nazi, Trudeau meet with him. He invited him into a conference or something. Maybe he was already invited, but he come to the conference and Trudeau stand him an ovation into the House of Commons during the visit of the Ukrainian president. So he did straight up, hey, everyone give a round of applause for that Nazi in front of everyone. This is so wrong. And then later, let's see what Trudeau said about that.
That Trudeau personally met with and honored a veteran of the genocidal 14th SS Division, a Nazi fighting unit responsible for horrific war crimes, referring to Hunka as a soldier of the Third Reich. Not a single MP was given a chance to examine this man's documented affiliation with Adolf Hitler's regime before being missiled into applauding him, Poilievre said angrily. Poilievre challenged Trudeau to explain how such a massive lapse in vetting procedures was allowed to happen under his watch. He questioned whether Liberal partisans had deliberately kept Hunka's Nazi past hidden from other parliamentarians. Does the Prime Minister have so little care for the memory of Canadian soldiers who defeated Nazism that you would so casually honor one of their former enemies? In no uncertain terms, Poilievre declared that Trudeau had lost the moral authority to lead the nation. He stated unequivocally that nothing less than a full public accounting and a sincere apology to Canada's Jewish community will suffice to remedy this appalling insult. The Conservative leader closed by
people have died to protect this country, and then you stand an ovation to their enemy? Man, what is that? As a citizen, I found that totally stupid, and I feel like we must change the leader now. Like, waiting for the next election is just too late. We need to do it now, man. It's just gonna go worse and worse. We need to do something, guys.
saying history would judge Trudeau harshly for his failure. It's both funny and ironic that Trudeau himself claimed not so long ago that the Conservatives were Nazis. As you can see him here calling a Jewish MP a Nazi.
Conservative Party members can stand with people who wave swastikas. They can stand with people who wave the Confederate flag. We will choose to stand with Canadians who deserve to be able to get to their jobs, who be able to get their lives back. These illegal protests need to stop, and they will, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, I am a strong Jewish woman and a member of this House and a descendant of Holocaust survivors, and I have never it's never been singled out, and I have never been made to feel less, except for today when the Prime Minister accused me of standing with swastikas. I think he owes me an apology. I'd like an apology, and I think he owes an apology to all members of this House.
And who can forget when liberal...
So you see what is happening right there. Sorry if I stopped that video. What is happening right there? We have a debate between people who are getting a lot of money from us, the citizen, and what they do is just debating on the most stupid subject because their leader is just doing weird shit. We are wasting money with Trudeau. It's very hard to, like, that dude Trudeau legalized the cannabis into Canada and did not even manage to make money with it. Like, we have a debt to pay, and legalizing the cannabis was supposed to pay the debt, man. I mean, like, it was so easy. Listen, he sold the weed the same price as the weed in the street and even higher. And the reason why the weed was costing high in the street, it's not that high, but the reason why it was pricey, it's because it was illegal. It's not because it's hard to grow or anything. So, and then he give funding to those companies who start selling cannabis, and they don't need any funding. Like, they are supposed to be able to do it by themselves. It's just so bad. So bad. So we're gonna finish that video and then we're gonna pass on another video, but let's get straight into it.
Liberals call the protesters of the trucker convoy Nazis and supremacists.
We must listen to each other, and we must assure that no one in this House is standing with those who support white supremacy, who support Nazi views, who look to...
Even more ironic, however, is how Chrystia Freeland has strong Ukrainian ties and allegedly has a sordid family history, particularly with Nazi supporters. As seen here standing with Ukrainians promoting a neo-Nazi movement banner, which she quickly took down from social media when people called her out on it. It seems under Trudeau Canada...
Well, it's that feminist, I think she's one of the feminists who do feminist speech. That shit is scary, man.
...is now slowly transitioning into a fascist leadership, where dictatorship and hate is the order of the day. One can even draw the sickening resemblance of Trudeau with Adolf Hitler in the speech he delivered at the Army rally in Toronto. Justin Trudeau's desperation knew no bounds. Not only did he allegedly fail to properly vet a man standing feet from the president of Ukraine, but Trudeau personally met with a former Nazi before the address. So while lying to Canadians that he had no knowledge of this man's dark past, the Prime Minister himself was privately aware of the very affiliation he later pretended surprised him. That Trudeau's true first instinct was to embrace a fascist, not condemn him, reveals where his allegiances truly lie, not with the people, but his own craving for cinematic visuals. A leader who privately courts haters but publicly feigns offense cannot be trusted to stand on the side of equality. Canadians deserve a prime minister protecting them from extremism, not one who rolls out the red carpet for it behind closed doors. That's all for now. What do you think is the motive behind Trudeau inviting a Nazi to the House? Let me know in the comments below. Also, kindly subscribe.
I'm pretty sure we cannot even understand why he do that, because he have a bigger plan behind and he's pushing, or he's being pushed by so many people that he don't even understand what he do. He just follow the speech that they give him, and he's just like a little object that the people use. Or maybe it come from him and he's an asshole, but the only thing that we need to do is just kicking him out. Why is he still there? Like, if we wait for election, we are the worst. We just need to kick him out. So go subscribe to that channel, Street Politic. I'm gonna put a link in the description, and let's pass on the next video. So when I was younger, I was more inclusive too. Like, I had some gay friend, I was fine with it. Do what you want, I'm gonna do what I want. But since it started to go into the school and they try to put pressure on children to try to teach them to be gay, I kinda slowly lost it. Like, I'm like, can you just be what you are and not impose it on the other? Can you, like, the fact that they can adopt children and raise them weird, it's one of the worst things that can happen. Like, the lesbian couple, the gay couple, it's in the same boat. When I say gay, it's about lesbian too, right? This is because we let them do that. Now there's trans people that try to chop the dick of their kids just to make them accept their false gender identity, and yeah, now they are stuck with that all their life. The statistics are still not made because it's new. Most of the people who transition like what, 5 years ago, they did not face all the consequences of their action, but what mean in 10 years maybe they will say, hey, no, I'm not finding that. They're gonna transition back, but all those statistics gonna stay there as a success story, and everyone's gonna say the transition is a success. We never heard of that guy again. Yeah, you never heard of him because he's so ashamed to be attacked by a 1,000 LGBTQ member. So yeah, let Candace Owens speak. She's a real good woman, and she was supporting the gay movement at the start. She realized with time that this is wrong, and let's see why and analyze that video too.
That the entire story about Matthew Shepard and the Laramie Project was complete and utter crap. Now, let me tell you something about my high school upbringing. When I was in high school, there was a very sustained effort, which I now am recognizing may have been a propagandist effort, to get us talking about lesbian and gay issues. And the way that this was done was that our drama production, our drama club, put on a production, rather, of the Laramie Project. And in classes, we talked about exactly who was behind this storytelling. We talked about the story of Matthew Shepard. And what was communicated to me, as well as all of us who were forced to go down to the auditorium and watch this play that was put on, was that a young gay boy.
I remember me too into a school. We were forced to go into an auditorium like that and listen to a bunch of gay stuff. They even gave us condom at the end and show us how to put condom on a penis, bro. Like, can you just not show that to the children, please? Like, let the parent do it. Like, give a homework to their parent. You call them, okay, this week you're gonna have to show that to your children, and that's it, bro. Like, the educational system is supposed to be like for math, English, French, all those stuff, not to show how to be gay or trans. This is just so weird, man.
Boy was callously murdered out in Laramie, Wyoming. Why? Because he was gay. And it wasn't your average murder either. He was chained to a fence and left to die. And this spawned a national conversation about gay people being attacked, about homophobia, a necessary conversation about why it is that people can't just exist and be gay without being killed in America. How sad. You can imagine how emotionally impacted I was by the story. This was a young Candace. I was a lot softer than I am now. And I thought, how could people be okay with this? Why aren't we all using our platforms to speak out on behalf of gay people who just want to love is love? That's what I thought. I thought Matthew Shepard just wanted to love is love. I couldn't see how any human being could not stand behind this and want legislation to be pushed forward to protect these people from, hate crimes. Simply being killed because of an attribute of yourself, like being gay. So I'm going to refresh your memory in case you aren't familiar with the story, in case you didn't have the same propaganda efforts launched upon you while you were in high school. Here is the story as it took place. On the evening of October 6th, 1998, Matthew Shepard went to Fireside Bar, a local hangout that was purportedly gay-friendly. Again, this took place in Laramie, Wyoming. It was karaoke night, and the locals rubbed shoulders with workers calling in for a swift drink on their way home. Shortly after, two young men by the name of Russell Henderson and Aaron McKinney arrived. The three men chatted briefly before leaving the bar and getting into a truck belonging to McKinney's father. In that truck, Matthew Shepard, this is the gay young man, was robbed of his keys, his wallet, and his shoes, and beaten repeatedly by one or both of these men. He was then taken from the truck, pistol whipped up to 18 times on the head, and kicked between the legs. Matthew was then tied to a fence, set on fire, and left unconscious. 15 hours after the attack, a student was out riding his bike when he discovered Matthew Shepard tied to the fence, barely alive. He initially mistook him for a scarecrow. Matthew's face was covered in blood, aside from tear tracks on each side of his cheeks.
We need to remember that the world is wicked, and those people, if it was not a gay people, it would be another victim. They were just seeking for a victim. They found someone that they managed to make themselves believe, oh, it worked a crime or something, and let's do it. If it was someone else, it would happen probably the same way. He was there at the wrong place, wrong time, with the wrong people, and it happened to many people. It's just made like that. You cannot just put it's because he's gay or something. People are wicked, and that's it. And into a bar, you're supposed to be ready to get beaten when you get out of the bar. It's like the worst place you can go. Like, if you're afraid of fighting, or if you don't know how to defend yourself, and if you go into a car with a bunch of people that are not your gender and they don't believe the same thing as you, and you all drunk, there's some huge change. There's something gonna happen. People who are drunk just fight each other. It's like that. And if you are in the wrong, the friends of the dude gonna help. Like, everyone gonna be like, hey, you're in the wrong, stop. It's made like that.
Now, to be clear, Matthew eventually died, and you can imagine what sort of a conversation this sparked across the nation. It's horrific, and this really happened. This is actually a true telling of events. He was killed, and for years, and after sustained effort, we were told that he was killed simply because he was gay. Except it turns out that that wasn't the truth at all. That was the media spin, and it was quite the spin. Now, let me just explain to you the impact of this story and this play amongst the national conversation and legislation. There were politicians, there were celebrities, they all pledged their support and their funding to combat, you guessed it, anti-gay hate crimes. The Shepherd family themselves, obviously the devastated parents of this young boy, became campaigners for gay rights. Their names are, Judy and Dennis Shepherd, and they now run the very successful Matthew Shepherd Foundation, which funds educational programs and online community for teenagers to discuss their sexual orientation and gender issues. The Laramie Project was not the only play that was produced to tell this story. There were also numerous documentaries, dramas, books, and events that were put together based on what we were led to believe was a wholly true story. The men that were responsible for his death were convicted of first-degree murder and given 2 life sentences. By the way, as they should have been. You killed somebody, you chained them to a fence, you set them on fire and left them to die. I don't have a problem with the sentencing of these 2 horrific individuals.
Yep.
They were not, however, charged with a hate crime because no such idea of a hate crime existed under Wyoming's criminal law. But because of people talking about the story and because of people wanting to put it in front of Congress, eventually President Obama signed the Matthew Shepherd Act in 2009, a law which defined certain attacks motivated by victim identity as hate crimes. So yes, this is a lot of progress that took place for gay rights because of the Matthew Shepherd story. I'm going to show you, by the way, just a trailer for the Laramie Project, the play that was eventually put on at my school, which made me believe that I had to become an advocate for gay rights when I was in high school. Take a listen, it's very emotional.
Laramie is a beautiful town, it's secluded. Now, after Matthew, we're a town defined by a crime.
And you're gonna use our words?
I have never done anything like this before. How do you get people to talk to you? What do you ask?
Oh, come on. Come on, bro.
I seen what appeared to be a young man who was bound to the bottom of the pole. The perpetrators themselves were kids, local kids.
That certainly offends us.
They wanted to teach him a lesson not to come on to straight people.
We don't grow children like that here? Well, it's pretty clear we do grow children like that here.
I should have known. These guys should not have been talking to that guy.
Hate crime's a hate crime. You murder somebody, you hate them. I don't know.
This is America.
Love the person for who they are, but condemn them for what they do.
Some people are gonna be sent to hell! And I think you know who you are.
Someone needs to stand toe-to-toe with him and show the difference.
What's come out of it?
So you get it. Hate is not...
So many messages are wrong in this video. Like, why are they walking like an angel? In the Bible is clear about the homosexual. Seriously. And I feel like this is just real propaganda. Like, it's say, oh, we are not a city. We are defined by that crime. I'm pretty sure most of the people like forget that not long ago, like, and a good part of those people probably was Christian and believer and was like, yes, this is a crime, this is bad, but he was gay too. So I don't say that this is good to do crime to gay people, but I'm pretty sure Candace Owen gonna expose the whole story, because there's not. I never heard of someone getting beat only because he's gay. Most of the time, he do more than that, and he's gonna use the gay part to play like a victim and make it look like a hate crime because of that new law. And we saw the same thing with the people who they just say, "Oh, you say that because I'm black," and then it's pretty hard after that to debate because they play the victim, they put out the victim card, and yeah, it's always like that. People just gonna take one part and expose it, while the whole story stay in them behind it.
Not a Laramie value. Obviously, this person was killed because people couldn't deal with his identity as a gay man. So it was thought, at least, by many individuals, including myself, until a young man named Stephen Jimenez came around who spent 13 years of his life interviewing more than 100 people that were connected to this case, and landed himself in some hot water after he published his findings in a book called The Book of Matt: Hidden Truths About the Murder of Matthew Shepard. Now, he landed himself in a lot of hot water because he told the truth. And many articles were written saying, I'm not even going to read this because it doesn't matter anymore. You know, it doesn't matter what the truth is. It's all about how we feel. Where we heard this kind of a theory before. And George Floyd's story reminds you, we don't care if the truth is. We've already settled on the narrative. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good emotion.
Oh, and people gonna say he's a homophobe too, straight up. As soon as you say a little argument that is far to be homophobe, bam, you're homophobe, categorize. You're done, you're homophobe, classify.
Time. What's interesting about Jimenez is that he had no intention of causing any controversy. He actually was an award-winning writer and TV producer. He visited Laramie shortly after the murder because he was going to write a screenplay about the case because he, too, felt so emotionally motivated by what took place. When he started out, he was convinced that this was a story about homophobia, but he soon found, as often can be the circumstance when you pursue truth rather than narrative, that there was much more to the story. In fact, this story had little to nothing to do with the fact that Matthew Shepard happened to be a homosexual. Here's what he found out. He found out that Matthew was addicted to and dealing crystal meth and had dabbled in heroin. He also took significant sexual risks, and he was being pimped alongside Aaron McKinney. Now, why is that interesting to know? Because Aaron McKinney, if you remember what I mentioned earlier, was actually one of his convicted killers. So Matthew Shepard was being pimped as a prostitute alongside one of his killers, who he had occasional sexual encounters with. How's that for a homophobic story? You're telling me that he was having sex with one of his killers, and we're supposed to believe that this crime was motivated purely by homophobia? That doesn't add up. It is also a fact that Matthew Shepard was HIV positive at the time of his death. Speaking about this, Jimenez says, this does not make the perfect poster boy for the gay rights movement, which is a big part of the reason why my book has been so trashed. Matthew's drug abuse and the fact that he knew one of his killers prior to the attack was never even explored in court. Again, the narrative had been decided. You can picture Derek Chauvin.
And there's a part of my life, it was under 18 years old. I was still a minor, but I was selling pills. And now I see that it's one of the worst thing I did in my life is selling pills. It destroyed people's life. One day I even have a car stopping on the side of me. There was like 5-6 people into it, and they say, "You stop selling pills to my sister because I'm gonna beat you if you keep doing that." No. And I was like, "Oh, okay, who's your sister?" Like, if someone come see me and tell me I don't want you to sell drugs to that dude, I was doing it. Like, I'm not that dude who's gonna insist on selling drug and all that shit, but at this moment, I was against the system, and I've gone out of foster family, all those things. So for me, it was like normal to do it. But after a moment, now it's like what 15 years ago that I was doing that. Now I know that it's one of my worst sin, if we can call it like that. And yeah, but you need to recognize the sin when there's some. And the dude was selling meth. It's way worse than me selling pills. The dude is selling meth straight up. He maybe killed someone and we don't know. Like, it's just like that.
Chauvin's trial doesn't matter. We've got our guy, and we say that he hates the gays. They also didn't explore the rumor that the killers knew that he had access to a shipment of crystal meth with a street value of $10,000, which they wanted to steal. Now, if I had known this information, obviously, it would have tremendously colored my opinion on this circumstance, being someone that is familiar with what happens when people are addicted to drugs. I've spoken openly about the fact that I have drug addicts in my family, and I know what it does.
Most of the gay people I know are defended by everyone, even into school. The people that was getting beat is the people who are ugly, fat, or redhead, or people with glasses, stuff like that. It's some stereotype. The gay people gonna be defended so hard. Sometimes it's gonna happen that one get beat here and here, but it's way more rare that get beaten than someone with mental problem or like it just look really bad. In school, it's really rough. Even myself, I got beaten many times. When I was going into bus, the old people, because it was a bus of teacher garden school and secondary school, the one just after that. And the secondary school was taking me, putting me under the bench and put the feet on me, spitting on me, all that stuff. And yeah, I will not put that on gay matter. Like most of the gay that got into school at the same time was not having any of this.
Nothing that you won't do to stop the high. To stop getting high, while you are high, the crimes that people commit, suddenly, was this a drug deal gone wrong? What are we actually talking about? What element of this? Why would another person that was engaging in homosexual relations kill somebody simply because they were gay? Were they motivated by something else? Looking back into Matthew's story himself, he was actually from an affluent family. He grew up in parts of his career, parts of his childhood in Saudi Arabia. He was a straight A student when he got back and enrolled at Laramie. He spoke 3 languages. He had aspirations to be a human rights advocate. And then somewhere along the lines, he got into drugs. It's the truth. He was a drug addict. And then he became a prostitute who dabbled in danger, likely because he was looking for the next high. He suffered bouts of depression, possibly as a result of being gang raped a few years earlier while he was on holiday in Morocco. But this is not the story of the Matthew Shepard that was brought to the public eye as a symbol, a celebrated figure, rather, of the gay rights movement. So they went with their story of a honky-dory town in the middle of America that wanted him dead. Here's another interesting element of the story that was not made clear to me when I was in high school. After Matthew was left tied to that fence by McKinney and Henderson, they then headed for Matthew's home, okay? But on the way back to his home, they encountered 2 young Hispanic men named Emiliano Morales and Jeremy Herrera, who were just slashing tires for fun. McKinney and Henderson got into a fight with these men, resulting in McKinney cracking open Morales' head with the same gun that he had used on Matthew. When police officer Flint Waters arrived to the scene and grabbed Henderson, and he found the truck, the gun, Matthew's shoes, and his credit card. Now, what's interesting about that is that police officer then spoke with Jimenez about his book, and he wrote this on social media. I believe to this day that McKinney and Henderson were trying to find Matthew's house so they could steal his drugs. It was fairly well known in the Laramie community that McKinney wouldn't be the one that was striking out of a sense of homophobia. Some of the officers I worked with had caught him, that's the convicted killer, in a sexual act with another man, so it just didn't fit. None of that made any sense. So
we see the information that the government give to us and feed us with is so wrong. The movement like the feminists, the movement like the gay, the trans, they all put out some weird statistic, some weird fact that we just debunk it, and it's not the reality, man.
So yeah, when you look at the facts of this case, it would seem that they simply wanted his drugs. They understood he had a shipment coming in. Maybe the shipment had arrived, and they killed him, and they left him chained to a fence because they were going to get that shipment. They were going to make that $10,000. But as I said, we don't let facts get in the way of a good emotional time in America, especially when we can further our own causes. And this particular cause was tremendously impactful in my own life. So I look at that and I'm floored. I am floored by just the recognition of how easily brainwashed we are by our emotions and how the media, who we believe are committed to telling us the truth, will intentionally remove the truth from a story and sell us a lie. It is the reason why I produced my documentary, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold. I am amazed by the condition of brainwashing, especially when it seeps into adult minds. At least I was in high school when I believed this. At least I was having a mind molded and shaped for me by the public school system. What about people when you can freely pursue information on your own? When they hear a story, they believe the media, and they go out and they protest and they riot absent any facts. What's going on in those particular circumstances? I want to continue to explore that narrative.
They push it into children's mind first because they are way much easier to manipulate, man. This is just clear as water. That part, man.
Which is why, in order to pivot and tell you guys, I am so excited, obviously, about my next, actually my first docu-series coming out, 10 full episodes, Convicting a Murderer, the story of Stephen Avery, a man that the media, Netflix in part, tried to convince audiences all around the world could potentially be innocent. A man that is a convicted murderer who has fiancés and girlfriends in prison because of the power of the mainstream media, the power of the Netflix network to make people believe in the possibility of innocence because his innocence because, well, we hate police officers, so it's better for us to believe a plot line that police officers are just up to no good. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to present to you guys the trailer for Convicting a Murderer. Take a look.
So I feel we are getting away from the point, so I will stop the video there. What do you guys think about that story? Do you think Candace Owen put out some fake stuff, or is it the true? And how many story we are listening to that are fake like that? Seriously, most of the people come to conclusion without having the real fact, without doing real research. And yeah, they just believe what it's on paper, believe what the school send there. We need to remember that the school, what they show to the people is kind of wrong. They put a theory and they apply it like if it was real. Like they're gonna take the evolution as example and teach it like if it was the truth, and you have nothing to say against that. The people who want to become psychologue, they have to get almost brainwashed because the psychologue now need to have the proper speech about the gender identity, about the gay and stuff. If the psychologue tell you, like the psychologist, maybe I'm using the word because I'm French, but the psychologist have to like, oh, it's fine, you're gay. You cannot come with his real mindset and say, you're not gay, you're a man, go find a woman, it's done. So everything you learn at school, maybe not everything, but there's a good part that are crap. And I feel like the society is based on some scholar who are supposed to do great thing in their life and have some grades to die and stuff like that, but they just faked a lot of theirs to die. You can see into there's some report, some video on the internet about the Oxford Academy. A lot of academy just created fakes to die, and then everyone believe it like if it was fact. So take care about what you are watching and listen to the real good people who take time to create real content like Candace Owen. And yeah, make your own decision. Don't base your decision on only one content creator, but on many things around. And yeah, I wish you a good day. Peace out.